Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Gary Neville Podcast. We're here at the Emirates, where there are some happy Arsenal fans around us. Gary, what have you made of that? It's been extraordinary for the two North London clubs. The extremes, Arsenal, no points in August, 9 in September, and Spurs the other way round.
Yeah, I think that's probably the place to start of just calming everything down, because both clubs on exactly the same points at the end of this game. Yet one group of fans will be depressed with what they've seen today, and they'll feel like they're on a little bit of a downward trajectory. And then you've got Arsenal fans who were absolutely all over the place 3 or 4 weeks ago, and now they've left this stadium today bouncing, and they're on the same point still. So that's football. But Arsenal do look like a team that they've got the players back. Mikel Arteta did say to us, I watched that Brentford game as you did at the start of the season, was really worried about what I saw. Outthought as well, actually, in that game, and you just thought, this is going to be a long season. Mikel Arteta come under a bit of pressure. But before this game today, when that team came through and you saw those 3 young ones behind Aubameyang, I think Aubameyang, look, I thought they'd lost him a few months ago. I thought, he doesn't look like he wants to be here anymore. But today, it's really interesting. From the first second, I thought he set the tone as a striker with his speed of his pressing, and then the young ones in behind really did do well. And then Xhaka and Partey, they can do that. We know Xhaka can be a little bit rash at times, but I thought they protected through that pressing in the early parts of the game, that back four. Tottenham were well off it, by the way, in every aspect, and we'll come on to them in a bit. But it allowed the back four to get confident in the game, and then when they got the goal, they sat back, which meant that they were always compact. So they were compact in the first 10-15 minutes through the pressing. They were then compact in the last 70 minutes through the fact that they were just all together but back a little bit deeper, and then they could counter-attack on Tottenham, which they did. So it was game plan perfect. Spurs got it completely wrong, but Mikel Arteta got it completely right, and he's now in the ascendancy, and everyone's buzzing again around here.
It's such a weird world, isn't it? Your rating of approval, as the politicians would say, and his is sky high tonight. And Nuno's had just a couple of months, to be fair to him, but what have you not seen from Spurs that you need to see?
Do you know what? I loved Pochettino. I loved him, as you know, and I just loved him. I'd seen when I was with England some of his coaching sessions and the complexity of his coaching sessions, the rotations in midfield, the way in which he pressed, and I thought he was a real high-level coach. And those players, those young Spurs players, like of Kane and Ali and the others, really, Son, they responded to that. And
a bit like the young Arsenal players are doing now.
Yeah, and they got great results in the sense that they didn't win a trophy, but they got to really good places. Champions League finals, second in the league, and they loved it. And you could see the place was fantastic. They ran more than most teams. They pressed more than most teams. They were always proactive and on the front foot. Didn't always win, but there was a real belief through the club. And then obviously he left. And it's become a lot more, I think basic's the word that I used during commentary, and it has become more basic. And those players have seen good tactical, modern instruction. And I think with Jose and Nuno, they're very different. They have a more basic approach to the game in terms of we'll sit back, we'll be compact, and we'll try and spring off that. And at the moment, we're seeing a Spurs team that just look like they're adapting to Nuno. Nuno's adapting to them. They don't look a completely happy bunch. I'm not saying for 1 second that Nuno's lost the dressing room. I don't think that's the case at all. But they just don't look happy on the pitch. Their body language isn't great.
Confused, maybe?
Or not quite believing that this is the way in which they want to play, probably sometimes with players that, he was the 5th, 6th choice manager, which was when that happens, it's never great, and that ultimately they've tried to chase Brendan Rodgers and other managers who've got a different style than Nuno completely. And then they bring Nuno in, obviously, who's got a good way of playing. But at Wolves, it was a pragmatic style, compact, deep defence, counter-attack, and got results. But Spurs fans and Spurs players have been used to the Pochettino style, and even under Jose, it wasn't as good a style, I didn't feel, but they scored lots of goals and they created lots of chances. So I think there's an element here of, at the moment, there's a little bit of just getting to know each other through the manager and the players, and believing in each other, because there is a little bit of a despondency, I feel, through the group, emanating, I have to say, through Harry Kane. He doesn't look happy, Martin. We've watched him a long time. You said in commentary he's professional. I've said that a number of times. But at the moment, he doesn't look himself.
Well, he's put the header wide at an important point in the first half.
And then the second half one.
And then, the second half. And was it a penalty?
I thought it was a penalty.
Yeah.
To me, sometimes you look at an incident, and you just think straight away, smacks a penalty. Yeah. Thought it was in the box. But there wasn't great appeal from Spurs, was there? I know Harry Kane did appeal. But those Spurs players should have been all around the referee. I'm not saying advocating giving referees a tough time, but when you think of a spirit in a team that's engaged, that wants to win, they're on the front foot, they're really going for it, their appetite is big. And Spurs today, I mean, we'll just talk a little bit about Spurs' performance, I think. At the start of the game, their tactic was, they're going to press us high, let's knock it long. But they looked clueless in knocking it long. They really did look clueless. They didn't look like they had the appetite and courage to play through midfield. They didn't look like the appetite. I mean, I think they've been poor at that for 2 years, but today it was as bad as I've seen it. And they played aimless long balls, which just gave Arsenal more encouragement. So that was the first part of the game. Then when Arsenal got the goal, you think, well, OK, there's a response. There was no response. So these are big moments in games. Firstly, you start the game badly, then you don't respond to going a goal down. And then when actually Arsenal play a different way and sit back, they didn't look like they had any idea how to play against the deep-lying defence. So it was poor all round. And I have to say, I don't think, and Jamie Carragher will probably spot this on Monday Night Football tomorrow, I don't think every single Spurs player, when that ball went past them, was sprinting back either in that first half. There were 2 or 3 of them I thought were ambling back, ambling across the pitch slowly. And it's not good enough, not in this game. I'd never seen this game before in my life live until I finished at Manchester United and came to work with you at Sky. And I've loved this game for 10 years. And I always felt as though it's been a game with tension and edge and something on it. It's been a really good game to watch and commentate on. But it also can highlight where teams are going under a little bit. And I felt like that Tottenham team in that first half went under today. It wasn't good. And those Tottenham fans, if they thought the team were losing, Ledley King said at half-time, there's a way to lose a half of football or a game of football. The reason those Tottenham fans were up and leaving was because they saw the same things as I was seeing. You cannot kid a football fan. Forget it. They know when a team's at it and a team's losing but applying themselves, losing and, having you over. And they were having them over in the first half, those Spurs players. They weren't at it at all.
Back-to-back halves, the second half against Chelsea in the first half here, scored none, conceded 6. And, that speaks for itself, really. But they were a bit better towards the end.
There was inevitable. We talked at half-time. We thought, how's the second half going to go? And we thought, you almost, in some ways, in our position, when I'm neutral, you're thinking, well, you almost want a 4-5-6, or you want Tottenham to get back into it for the game. You almost want there to be a... And the danger is always that it just sort of, filters out and it ends up being a sort of 3-0. It did a little bit like that. Arsenal managed the game. I didn't see a response at the start of the second half from Spurs. I was expecting them to come out 2 substitutions and fly out the blocks, a little bit like they did against Chelsea in the first half last week, but they didn't. And there was a stat that came up during the game, and I'm not saying that running's everything, I'm not saying that distance covered is everything, because we know there are far greater factors in football and more important stats, but I'd hate to be the team that runs the least in the league.
And that was never Tottenham.
That was never Tottenham in the past few years. I'd hate to be the team that runs the least in the league. So maybe that could be Burnley, because they get pressed back a lot. They don't have possession. They do have to shuffle across a lot, and they don't keep possession. So you can imagine that Burnley's style might bring that, but not Spurs. They should be a proactive team that are pressing, that are engaged high, that are going for the throat, that have got lots of forward runners, that are counter-attacking quickly with the players they've got. And for that Spurs team to be 20 in distance covered, that would worry me, that really would worry me as a Spurs fan. I don't want my team anywhere to be a team that doesn't work, or run as hard as the others. And I didn't like that stat. Yes, of course, shots on target are poor, goals are poor. We'll probably accept those as Spurs fans if we can see a team that's sprinting everywhere. They're not, and they've got to stop that. They've got to stop that, and that's all of them, by the way, including the captain. Sorry, Harry Kane's not the captain.
He's not. The goalkeeper can't run very far.
No.
Hugo Lloris, who is the captain.
I forget sometimes he's not the captain.
This big 4-6 now, Arsenal, Spurs out of it. I mean, do you subscribe to that view that we shouldn't be talking about a big 6? And what you've seen today, does it suggest that Arsenal and Spurs can reclaim any of that status?
I mean, we probably have used the words top 6 and top 4.
Yeah.
I don't like it anyway, and I would never, if I was being serious and not joking with someone, not have Arsenal Football Club in the top 6 clubs in this country and top 4 clubs in this country in terms of tradition, history, honours. They're an incredible football club. Yes, at the moment, they are not where they would like to be, but this football club stands in the top football clubs in this country, irrespective of trophies and what's happening, just because they're a great, great football club. Tottenham, I think, absolutely the same. Brilliant football club. I do think there is a culture at Tottenham of lacking belief in the big moments, not going on and winning those trophies, and that's got to go sometime. It's 3 trophies. I don't know how many trophies it, Martin. You'll tell me 3 trophies in 50 years or something. I know it's bad.
Well, they haven't won since 2008, and that was
it's bad.
The League Cup.
Whichever way you look at it, it's bad.
Which is a trophy, by the way. We shouldn't devalue that.
No, we shouldn't do. But Tottenham Hotspur are a huge football club. I was watching the boxing last night and looking at that stadium, and I've been in that stadium last Sunday with you. It's mesmerising. It's an unbelievable stadium.
You could take your holidays there.
You could. You certainly look at the bars at the back, and it's absolutely. It's more than it's. You think of a concourse, and you think of refreshments in a football ground, and then you think of sort of the best bars you go to in any city in the world, and you think, there you go, they've got them. But there's just something culturally wrong on the football side. But what I would say is those clubs deserve to. They shouldn't be disrespected because of a few bad years, even 30 bad years or 20 bad years. Liverpool Football Club and Manchester United Football Club have been where Tottenham and Arsenal have been for large periods. In the 80s, obviously Manchester United were desperate at times. Liverpool have had periods up to Jurgen Klopp where it's not always been perfect, and they've finished really in disappointing positions and had some average teams. It can happen. So we shouldn't sit here and disrespect 2 clubs like this. They've given us a brilliant day today, and it's a great game, the North London derby. But I don't buy into this all of a sudden just because Chelsea and City are here and Leicester have had a few good years, that all of a sudden we should dismiss Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur as being great football clubs.
Well, let's get on to Manchester United. Of course, of the so-called Big Four, only one won yesterday. It was a very big win for Chelsea. We'll come to that in a minute. But Manchester United lost their 3rd game in 4, 2 of them at home. I mean, the odd bunch, you've called them that for a long time. Are you in that kind of frame of mind about them again?
Look, I said it even when they were winning, even when Ronaldo scored, they don't play well enough as a team to win this league, in my view. They don't play well enough as a team. I think that you have to be a unit in possession and out of possession, and when you only deliver in moments, those moments won't go for you in certain games. You need patterns of play. You need a way of playing. And I, at this moment in time, still see a group of individuals playing in moments with some patterns and combinations at time, but still a team that's, some of them pretty new together. Obviously, Ronaldo, Varane, Sancho's not settled in yet. But they've got to come together as a team and start to define a style of play, and then you start to get results when you don't play well. And I think the way they are at the moment, they'll always have days like that yesterday. They'll have patches of 4 or 5 games where they'll only win 2, but then they'll go and win 15 on the bounce and be unbeaten away from home for I don't know how long. That's the type of team they are. I have called them the odd bunch because I still look at them and think as though they're a team that wins games in moments. When I look at Chelsea and I look at Liverpool and I look at City, they're teams. They put team performances in. And that's not to say United never do, but Ollie's got to get them now into a team. I said it last 2 weeks ago, and this wasn't to put pressure on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that it was make or break, the Ronaldo signing. That's not me putting pressure on the players. It's not me putting pressure on the manager. It's a matter of fact. If you sign Cavani, Fernandes, Ronaldo, Sancho, Varane, you've got to then win a trophy at some point in the next 12 to 18 months. This season or next, when Ronaldo's here, that's why it's a make or break signing. So they have to win a trophy. That's why it was a bad one against West Ham on Wednesday night. I'm sat there watching that game at home and I'm thinking, well, this is one of the trophies that you can win. And actually, I've seen this trophy be a springboard for teams to go and be really successful out of Man United, which is my club, which is with Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, the 2 greatest managers in the world in the last 20 years, have won this trophy as a springboard. Sir Alex did in 2005-06 when I lifted the trophy. And all of a sudden, within 2 years, we were in Champions League finals and winning it. And that was the Rooney-Ronaldo era, where basically that was their first trophy. I think it was Wayne's first trophy for the club or Cristiano's first trophy for the club. I can't remember. That was a game to go and win against West Ham. Go and win that game. Get to the next round. Win a trophy in March, and then that gives you the impetus for the rest of the season and the confidence. The Europa League's still a bad one. You have to win that trophy. So there is definitely some pressure building after that game yesterday, but they'll win 5-6 games on the bounce. They might lose on Wednesday, they might lose next Saturday against Everton, but they'll also then go and win 10 games on the bounce. The thing is, there's quite a bit of yesterday, pressure on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ole out. The club have done that in the last 10 years, 8 years, and it's not worked. They will see this project through. I don't like calling managerial reigns projects, but they will see this through because I think they've had great managers, world-class managers, international managers in the building, and it's not worked for the club, for the fans, style of play, whatever you might call it. However, it does seem that ultimately at this moment in time, the dressing room seems happy, but they've got to start to become a team. You have to start putting combinations together, pattern of plays. I always think when a team's, I know what's going to happen when I can see Manchester City building up out of the back. I know what's going to happen at Liverpool. When Manchester United are building up at the back or through midfield, I don't know what's coming next sometimes.
You didn't know what was coming from Chelsea, who, by their own admission, were poor. I know you studied the game very closely. What did you make of that? I
thought Chelsea should have changed. I thought Tuchel, he's the bravest manager, one of the great managers in the last 12 months in the world with what he's done. I just thought when it wasn't working, the two up top with the three in midfield, and it was quite clear that City were getting far too much joy, I thought he would have changed it after 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And then he obviously lets it go, and I just thought it gave City so much confidence. But what it did do, and it happened with us sometimes in our careers at Manchester United, where you see a new team emerge, and we've talked about Chelsea, I've talked about Chelsea glowingly in this last few weeks. But sometimes in a great team just reminds you what they are. And I thought Manchester City yesterday reminded us what they were under Pep Guardiola. To go to Chelsea in that form, who've had 3 big results, a draw at Anfield with 10 men, coming here, going to Spurs, big results, and then they go and beat them away 1-0. I thought City were fantastic yesterday and deserved it. They should have won by more. They should have won by more. I mean, that was, Tuchel, I think, admitted that. They were beaten by a better team and it could have been more than 1-0. That was really impressive, that, from City.
We'll be in trouble if we don't mention that Liverpool, as we speak, are top.
I didn't watch the game.
It was an extraordinary game. An extraordinary game. In which Brentford showed what they brought to the Premier League, and Liverpool traded blow for blow, and you didn't want the final. I just watched it back, and you didn't want the final whistle to come, even though you knew the result.
I made a statement 2 or 3 weeks ago, and enough Liverpool fans on social media have thrown it back at me in the last couple of weeks since they've had a few good results. I don't think Liverpool are just right, and that means they're still excellent. One of the best 3 teams in Europe. But they're just not right, because I've seen them achieve a standard that is out of this world. Getting to nearly the 100-point mark and beating this City for the title is special. So what they've done is incredible, and they've set themselves a bar that's up here. They're just below that bar, and things like yesterday don't really surprise me. But it can happen in the Premier League, but it wouldn't have happened, a couple of years ago. I think they would have seen that out, and just at the moment, they're just not quite right. But look, it's such an intriguing, fascinating league.
And
City, Chelsea.
Brighton will go top.
Brighton tomorrow.
We must say, for the Brighton fans who might be joining us for this, we're talking before the Crystal Palace-Brighton game, which has a history of its own. I want to leave you with one other thought. Raúl Jiménez scoring the winner for Wolves after the incident here, wasn't it, when he fractured his skull, and we wondered whether he'd ever play again. On that night, it was even more serious what we were wondering that particular night. So special time in a fixture that might be tucked away in the back pages, but for us and for all football fans, I think great for Raúl.
Well, we were sat up here watching that goal, weren't we? He showed tenacity and skill to put it in, and I have to say that it was a really good moment, because his confidence must be, it must be hit because of what happened. It must be. You're going out onto that pitch with that reminder, obviously, all the time. We saw Petr Cech for years, didn't we? That reminder of these sort of horrific moments that stick in your mind. But for him to be out there today, bursting away from a centre-back, then showing that little bit of skill, and then the finish, it was fantastic. It was a good win for Wolves. They needed it. Disappointing and a bit worrying for Southampton, but a big moment and a really nice moment for Raúl Jiménez, and I think everyone in football, because to be fair, there are moments in football whereby you do forget about the result, the rivalries, and that's usually when something like that happens. It happened in the Euros with Christian Eriksen, who, sometimes, we should still mention him more, because, he was a special player watching him for Spurs a few years ago, and then we had that horrific incident, obviously, in the summer. Everyone was panicking and worried to death, about it, and all of a sudden you sort of forget about him a little bit when you get on with the rest of life, and we shouldn't do, because these are really important moments, and hopefully Christian will be okay, and then we know that Raúl Jiménez has been through it the last sort of 6 to 12 months. It was a great moment.
Great way to finish. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.